Miscarriage. Once you were there. You're gone, so I don't know who these words are to, and if I'm honest with myself, there was never more than just the idea of you. But that idea changed my life over 10 weeks and 4 days, so though I never got to see you, your memory will stay. May 4th. I saw missed calls from your mum that Monday. I was in between lessons. You don't need to know this, but your dad made money from teaching English sessions. I stepped into the car, as I'd done many times before. I strapped on my seatbelt, hit the ignition and closed the door. I pulled out my phone and put it in my hands free, expecting to be given a load of errands from Mummy. I hit the call button and she answered in an urgent tone, so I blabbered, "Is everything all right? Do you need me to come home?" She said no, but coyly, followed by a heavy sighing sound, and then giggled and asked, "Baby, are you sitting down?" I affirmed it and she continued, "I've done a pregnancy test." I straightened up and asked intently, "Are you pregnant?" She said yes. I tried to start a sentence but no words would come, and something inside me screamed, "Get to her, fool, quick run." So I dropped the cork on the engine, put my foot to the floor, felt excitement bubble inside me and new emotion soar. I made it 10 meters, then a thought crossed my mind, so I slammed into a quick stop and called your mum a second time. "Dina, if you're joking, I'm going to go crazy, delirious." "It is true, my darling, I'm 100% serious." I gurgled with excitement. I hung up the phone over the moon, which starkly contrasted with the rest of London's gloom. Drivers in other cars picked their nose and looked wasted, and I just wanted to share a bit of the good news that I'd tasted. I wanted to jump on the bonnet and scream at everyone I could see, "I've just found out that I'm gonna be a daddy." I got to our house bubbling. Everything seemed bright, and to my eyes your mother seemed covered in gold light. Now, though the confirmation was a pleasure, I'd seen telltale signs, as in the weeks beforehand your mum seemed to have two minds. One where she thought I was a saint and could do no wrong, and the other where she raged at me like a fire-breathing dragon. She'd also gotten curves where she was slim previously, went from a D cup to an E cup, so it wasn't really a mystery. Anyway, when I saw her, I hugged her and I dropped on one knee. I fluttered kisses and whispered words directed at you in her tummy. We had lunch in near silence, smiles etched on each face. Then I went to make prayer, and when finished stayed in my place. I waited for better concentration. I closed my eyes and focused in, and whispered, "Thank you, my Lord, for giving us this blessing. I'm not bothered about the gender. Grant us a daughter or a son. All that I ask of you, Lord, is that you grant us a healthy one. And if in your will it is written to take the baby away, then my will gladly comply. But please grant us one day." I felt strangely subdued, almost eerily calm, and I suddenly remembered a line from the Quran. "You may feel something is good for you, but good for you is not, and at the time be blind to the good in something you've got." And though at the time I didn't think it was a warning specifically, I look back now and see it was a warning explicitly. Over the next few days I thought of nothing but you. I picked out names and possible hobbies and all the things that you'd do. I had made up conversations where you'd be delightful and I'd laugh. I imagined changing your nappies and you splashing around in the bath. To me you'd look like your mother, a teeny nose and cute cheeks. Took the eyes from your gran and took my love of sweets. You'd have a soft voice and be patient like your uncle Ziad, and everyone would comment on the big curly afro you had. I'd spend hours in those daydreams, so it was very happily that I tore up my life plans and prepared for you, my first baby. And nothing felt like sacrifice. It's what I wanted to do. I felt focused and driven to provide the best start for you. The next weeks went by and we got a date for the first scan. Looked into water births and junk food was banned. I prayed prayers on time and prayed all would be well. Said goodbye to immaturity because I felt that your arrival would surely be its death knell. But all that replanning turned out to be dud when your mum miserably reported the first drops of blood. We still tried to be positive, read it could happen in first pregnancies, but seems as gently as you'd come, you'd go with the same ease. The stomach cramp started and your mum was in pain. There was nothing I could do, I couldn't help, felt so lame. I just acted like a shadow and never left her side, and always made sure on my shoulder she'd cry. I assured and reassured her, then gently held her hand as we headed to the hospital for an early pregnancy scan. We got to the waiting room and each pulled up a chair, trying to avoid the apprehension on every face there. And though your loss was all but confirmed, we got a reminder so terse that no matter what happens, someone's always had it worse. See, while in the waiting room, a lady came through in floods of tears and on the phone had a conversation that we couldn't help but hear. She'd come in for her scan post 12 weeks, so wasn't worried, but on her way up the hospital stairs, that poor woman miscarried. Eventually, your mum's name was called up and any new nerves were felt. We walked in to see the doctor in his 48-inch belt. He asked the requisite questions while glued to his screen, and his face well reflected all the dashed hopes he'd seen. When he next spoke, he directed the conversation at me, held up a sonograph and said, "As you can see, the womb's empty." He turned to his computer and your mother turned to me, wide-eyed and stunned that he'd spoken so cruelly. We headed home for sleep, thank God on the way, and remembered that you've got to take the rain if you want to see the rainbow someday. Still, when I think of your promise and all you'd have done, I find it hard to remind myself that you were just cells, no brain, heart or skeleton. And trying to convince myself of that is truly absurd, because if you really were just cells to me, then why'd I pen these words?